I'm Corey Jarvis, head football coach at Lithia Springs High School. I am going into my 6th year here at Douglas County and at Lithia Springs High. Uh, and our outlook for this upcoming year is to definitely improve on our previous year. We had made it to the playoffs for 4 years in a row. Last year we slipped back and did not make the playoffs. And right now our aspiration is to get back in the playoffs and try to get back to winning ways that we've had in the previous 4 years before that. Right now we have a total of 17 seniors. We've been working out between 40 to 45 young men this whole off season. Probably the smallest team we had at Lithia, but it's actually one of the better summers that we've had also. So we're expecting better results this year than we had in previous years.
Coach, you mentioned first time in a minute you missed the playoffs. How much does that put, I guess, a fire under your belly to really get these guys ready to go back to the postseason? And kind of part two, maybe what was different about last year's team that maybe didn't reach those standards, and how do you feel like this team is more equipped for that?
Well, the thing that happened with us, we blew 2 ball games that we should have won. The Billerica game, we win that one, we would have been in the playoff. In the Banneker game, didn't play well against Banneker. Just had a bad week, to be honest, a bad week of practice, and it showed that Friday night. But just from the standpoint of just moving on from that team leadership wasn't as strong as I thought it was. Had a lot of kids who didn't really have to play because we had that previous class end up having about 32 or 31 seniors, so they really didn't have to play, and then they were behind them for 3 years, and so they didn't really push the leader. I guess I didn't push the leadership envelope enough with those guys, and it showed. It showed that at critical times where we needed some senior leadership and we didn't have anybody to step up. But the crazy thing about it is this group was the ones who were trying to lead behind them, and sometimes they you just got to step out the way and let the young kids lead. And the good thing about it is there's another class behind this senior class, this junior class, that they're probably tighter than this group. Like, this a tight-knit group. We've had, like I said, we've had a great summer. I really appreciated that the kids came in, that just because it's a grind, and they've grinded it out. And like I said, when you sit down, you look at other teams, and we went to FCA camp, and we were playing against single A and double A teams, and they had more kids than we had. And it's not no knock on our kids. We just don't have kids like that. But when we go out there with 30 kids and 35 kids, I think we had 34 that we took to FCA, and it was. We showed a lot of people, like, right now, that's Kareem Reed said, Coach, he said, y'all got a bunch of grinding. He said, y'all actually pretty good with those 34 kids.
How does, I know sometimes people talk about, the camps and the 7-on-7 stuff and whatnot, but for you as a coach, especially trying to bounce back from last year, how much importance is there in watching your guys compete, even in those non-pad, non-traditional football setups? Like, how much does watching them, how much do they grow as competitors in those settings?
Well, I know that from a standpoint of being a former defensive back and wide receiver in high school and in college, just the confidence level. When you go to 7-on-7s for defensively, it's really just for you to try to learn how to be disciplined and learn to do your defense versus other folks. Like, I hired Tank Haywood from Sandy Creek. He's my defense coordinator now. Kind of took myself out to calling defense or whatever. But he's like I am. I don't go in to try to win 7-on-7s, and it's about the competition, but it's also about teaching our kids to be disciplined and doing the things that we're supposed to do. Everybody can go 7-on-7 and play 2-man all day, but how realistic that is.
Right.
And our kids did real well at a couple 7-on-7. I think we went to the Lithia Foundation 7-on-7 at Lassiter. We ended up bowing out in the semifinals.
Wow.
And we started off pretty bad. I was being honest. I think we won the first game or maybe the second game and lost 3 straight. And then we came back and we went against Brookwood. Who we had gone against at UGA about 3 weeks earlier, and they actually put it on us at UGA, and we put it on them at Lithia, and it was like a total night and day type deal. And our kids kind of, that kept the ball rolling. And then when we went to Hillgrove, we actually went to Hillgrove the next day to a padded camp at Hillgrove, and we looked real well, did real well against some good competition with Hillgrove, Blessed Trinity, Wheeler, who else we went? I think we went against South Cobb again. Played them in the spring, but we got a chance to go against a good competition. And only person I think we didn't see Chapel. I think they did it on purpose. And of course, we didn't go against East Paulding because we play each other in the regular season, so they kept us away from each other.
Talk about the new region that y'all in and kind of how you see Lithia fitting in this.
The new region, even though it's a little different, it's still to be very similar than our old region. Like you got one team, Rome High School, who's pretty doggone good, and everybody knows that. Like everybody across this state and this country knows that. Rome High School is gonna be Rome High School, but everybody else is kind of like just even.
Right.
And it's going to kind of be whoever plays well and make the least amount of mistake in the Friday night. It's just like the any given Sunday statement. Any given Friday, you can win or lose a ball game. It's just going to be which kids perform at their peak and stay disciplined, and which teams are able to at the end of the year be the healthiest.
Right.
I tell people all the time, you get to the end of the year and then you get to the playoffs. It's about who's healthy as well, because if you're not healthy, then that can play a big part in you not being as very good at the end of the year.
Absolutely.
How hungry you feel like these guys are after, like you said, 4-year run. Last year didn't make it. For these 17 seniors to get, set the record back straight. Kind of talk about that.
Like I said, when we end up, I guess, finishing up in November, the conversation piece was had with about 2 or 3 seniors with me. And basically what they said, Coach, you should have put some of the guys off the team. And, they were like, we know what you felt like, but you should have put some of them off. And what I saw was a drive. Like I told them like in mid-February, late February, that it's a difference. I could see the difference. Like they were a team, they were working hard in the weight room. The kids that we had that were running track was out there doing everything they possibly do to get faster and do the things that get better. Then when you're talking about coming after school, 35, 40 kids showing up every day with install stuff, learning new offense stuff, learning new defense stuff, it was like a total different team. And like I'm talking about total night and day. And I think that hunger was already there. Then like the guys who I got in here right now, they led by example when they were the leaders in trying to make that change. So that's why I brought those guys with me today.
Who are some guys you think, maybe folks don't know who they are really right now or whatever, but as season goes on, you think they will play to a way that will really raise some eyebrows?
Well, like I said, 2 of the guys I know right now that's with me, Malachi Evans, quarterback, people kind of know about him, but they don't know about him. Got hurt last year. I think he missed, 4 ball games, so that hurt us too. But I expect a huge year out of him with Coach Frederick now calling plays for us. He does a lot of things to help Malachi in developing at quarterback. It's a little simpler, but it's a little better for him.
Yeah.
But it's also gets him to be an athlete that he is, because he's a great athlete as well. The one that everybody has asked about at every 7-on-7 at every camp we went to is who is number 7, and like I said, I brought him as well, Randy Parker. Randy, I believe, played 8 ball games last year. He was hurt 2 ball games as well. But when we broke down film on, I think Coach Frederick broke down all 10 ball games, and every explosive play came from those 2 guys. And the third person who's not here today because he's actually doing therapy on the shoulder, Chris Pauls. Like when you look at our offense, they made the plays, and those guys to me are the guys that people are going to be asking at the end of the year, like where did they come from? How can I get them to come to my school type deal? Because they've had that kind of off season that they deserve to be in the talk with like some of the best players in this area.
I have to ask this too. You mentioned bringing on a guy to be your DC from Sandy Creek. What does it mean to have somebody with the experience on a championship program like that? Like what are you already seeing him bring to your program now?
Well, the thing that I love about Tank is me at age. I think he's 29, 30. He's me at 29, 30. He's very, very, very thorough. Like, when you sit down and you listen to him talk about defense, he is a thorough guy. Like he leaves no stone unturned, and he's one of those guys that brings energy. We brought in pretty much a whole new defensive staff except one person, to be honest, from Philando Jordan, my cousin who I coached at Mays. Then Bobby Andrews moved from linebacker, outside linebacker to safeties. Then Coach Haywood, of course, Tank is coaching the linebackers, and then Coach Lumpkin, who was at Baldwin, and he was over at Mason Creek, actually the head coach at Mason Creek. We brought him in to coach defensive line. They've done an outstanding job. Like, I'm talking about, they have coached their tails off this whole off season. Like, just to look at them and to see the kids like react to their coaching style, to the scheme. It's been a great off season when you're talking about our defensive guys, and I'm hoping that they'll keep improving.
Sound good.
Okay, I have Malachi Evans here, 2025, so he's an upcoming senior. He plays quarterback and defensive back for us. Malachi has had an outstanding offseason, expecting big things for him. I think he might be the 2,000 man this year. That's what we're kind of like pushing for. I'm hoping that he's able to get that, because that means we're going to win a lot of ball games with him at quarterback. All right, got Randy Parker here, plays wide receiver and defensive back for us. Randy is another guy that I talked about earlier who's had an outstanding offseason. Got a lot of eyebrows raised for him at receiver. Expecting a big year out of him. I think I kind of probably cheated Malachi out of 2,000, but out of 2,000, he probably gonna be throwing a lot of them to this young man right here. And last but not least, I have number 8 right here, Jaden Florence, another 25 kid, upcoming senior. Jaden plays cornerback for us. He's like one of those vocal leaders on defense. He also plays a little bit of receiver as well. Jaden, I expect big things out of Jaden this year as well. It's been like the captain on our defense.